There is a strange paralysis that happens when you try to delete a blurry photo from 5 years ago. Your finger hovers, but you can't do it. Why? Because in the digital age, we have confused our files with our memories. We are terrified that if we delete the file, we delete the feeling. Let me tell you about a specific kind of heaviness that doesn't have any physical weight. It's not the weight of a backpack or a heavy coat or a piece of furniture you have to move. It is a weight carried entirely in your pocket, and more specifically, in your mind. We live in a world where we are told that storage is infinite. We are sold cloud plans that promise terabytes of space, hard drives that can hold libraries, and phones that never need to be emptied. The promise of the digital age was that we could keep everything without consequence. We could save every photo, every message, every document, and every screenshot. And because these things take up no room in the physical world, we assumed they would take up no room in our psychological world. But we were wrong. There is a strange paralysis that happens when you try to clean up your digital life. You know the feeling. You open your camera roll, determined to free up space because your phone has started to slow down, or perhaps just because you feel a sudden urge to organize. You scroll back. You find a photo from 3, maybe 4 years ago. It is not a good photo. It's blurry. The lighting is bad. Maybe it's just a picture of a lunch you had at a restaurant that doesn't even exist anymore. Or a screenshot of a weather report from a vacation you took in 2019. Logically, this file is trash. It has no artistic merit. It has no utility. It serves no purpose in your current life. But as your finger hovers over the delete button, you freeze. A sudden, irrational wave of anxiety washes over you. You hesitate. You think, what if I need this? Or, more hauntingly, what if I forget? And so, you don't delete it. You swipe past. You choose the clutter. You choose to carry the weight. Why do we do this? Why is it physically painful to delete digital data that we haven't looked at in years? Why do we hoard conversations with people who have walked out of our lives? Why do we build these vast, chaotic museums of our own history, only to never visit them? It is easy to label this behavior as laziness or digital hoarding. We tell ourselves we are just too busy to sort through it all. But that is a surface-level excuse. Beneath the disorganized folders and the thousands of unread emails, there is a profound psychological struggle occurring. It is a struggle between who we were, who we are, and who we are terrified of becoming. To understand this, we have to look at how we define ourselves in the modern age. Psychologists have a concept called the extended self. Decades ago, before the internet, our sense of self was contained within our bodies, our memories, and perhaps a few physical possessions, a locket, a diary, a favorite coat. These objects were containers for our identity. If you lost your diary, you felt like you lost a piece of your mind. Today, that boundary has exploded. Your phone is no longer just a tool. It has become a prosthetic limb of your brain. It is an external hard drive for your soul. We have outsourced our memory to these devices. We have outsourced our navigation, our communication, and our sense of time. So when you look at that blurry photo of a street corner from 5 years ago, you aren't just seeing pixels. You are accessing a sensory timestamp. Your brain, in its complexity, links that image to a feeling. The smell of the air that day, the person you were walking with, the hope you felt for a future that has now become your past. To delete the file feels like a lobotomy. It feels like you are slicing off a piece of your own history. We have confused our data with our memories. We have convinced ourselves that if the record of the moment is gone, the moment itself effectively never happened. And in a world that moves so fast, where experiences evaporate in seconds, that fear is paralyzing. We are terrified of our own fluidity. We are terrified that without these digital anchors, we will simply drift away. But there is a darker side to this preservation. Consider the graveyard of your direct messages, the texts from an ex-partner, the group chats with old colleagues who you no longer speak to, the messages from a friend who you had a falling out with. These are digital ruins. Walking through them can be excruciating. You scroll up and see the jokes, the intimacy, the plans you made that never happened. Yet, we refuse to burn them down. We keep the thread. We archive it, maybe, but we don't delete it. Why? This taps into a phenomenon known as anticipatory grief. Usually, we apply this term to the dying, the mourning we do before someone is actually gone. But in the digital age, we apply it to our past selves. We are mourning the version of us that existed in those messages. When you reread texts from when you were first falling in love, you see a version of yourself that was perhaps more innocent, more open, or just different. Deleting that thread feels like a second breakup. It feels like the final nail in the coffin of a relationship that ended physically years ago, but has been kept on life support digitally. We use digital clutter as a shrine to our own history. But shrines are heavy. Shrines require maintenance. And when you live in a museum of your own past, it becomes very difficult to renovate for the future. Think about the sheer cognitive load of it. Every time you unlock your phone, you are subconsciously aware of the thousands of emotional anchors you are carrying. Even if you don't open the Photos app, you know they are there. The screenshot of the argument you wanted to win, the photo of the apartment you moved out of, the saved recipe you never cooked, the bookmark for the job you never applied for. This accumulation creates a background radiation of anxiety. It is a constant, low-level hum of unfinished business. In psychology, the Zeigarnik Effect states that our brains remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. Digital clutter is essentially thousands of uncompleted loops. Decisions deferred, emotions unprocessed, goodbyes unsaid. It drains your energy without you even realizing it. We also have to talk about the just-in-case syndrome. This is the modern survival instinct gone wrong. In the physical world, hoarding grain or wood made sense. It was protection against a harsh winter. In the digital world, we hoard information. You keep the screenshot of the error message. You keep the blurry photo of the document. You keep the contact info of the person you met once at a conference 5 years ago. We do this because we have been trained to believe that information is safety. We believe that if we have the data, we have control. In an unpredictable world, your camera roll becomes your inventory, your bunker. You hoard data to protect yourself against some imaginary future scenario where you might need that one specific receipt from 2017. But deep down, this behavior reveals a lack of trust in yourself. It implies that you don't trust your brain to remember what matters. You don't trust your future self to handle problems without a reference library of the past. You are betting against your own competence. You are assuming that without your digital crutches, you would fall. And there is a cost to this outsourcing. When you rely on the device to remember everything, your own ability to recall atrophies. We stop actively engaging with the moment because we know the camera has captured it. We don't look at the painting in the museum. We take a picture of it and walk away. We assume the possession of the image is the same as the experience of the art, but it is not. The act of capturing often interrupts the act of feeling. There is a cruel irony here. By trying to save everything, we end up saving nothing. When you have 50,000 photos, the special ones, the truly magical moments, are buried under mountains of mediocrity. You can't find the photo of your grandmother's smile because it's hidden between 50 screenshots of memes and 300 photos of your lunch. Abundance destroys significance. Value requires scarcity. If everything is important, then nothing is important. We are drowning in our own documentation. We are creating a haystack so large that we will never find the needle. And deep down, we know this. That's why we rarely look back. That's why that on this day, notification is often the only time we revisit our past. We are gathering, gathering, but we are never consuming. We are digital gluttons, constantly feeding, but never digesting the experiences we claim to treasure. This hoarding also distorts our sense of time. When everything is saved, the past feels perpetually present. In the natural world, time is linear. Seasons change, leaves fall and rot, memories fade. This fading is not a flaw in the human brain, it is a feature. Forgetting is an essential biological process. It is the brain's way of cleaning house, of filtering out the noise so that we can focus on the signal. It allows us to heal. It allows the sharp edges of grief to soften. But digital memory doesn't fade. A hateful comment from 10 years ago looks exactly as fresh and sharp today as it did the second it was posted. A photo of a lost loved one doesn't yellow or curl at the edges. It remains perfectly, painfully bright. By keeping everything in perfect fidelity, we deny ourselves the natural process of healing. We keep our wounds fresh. We disrupt the natural cycle of growth and decay. We try to be static beings in a dynamic world, frozen in a digital amber. So, what happens when we start to let go? What happens when you finally summon the courage to delete the conversation? What happens when you wipe the drive? At first, there is panic. It is visceral. It feels like a mistake. A voice in your head screams, "You can never get this back." It feels like you have thrown away a family heirloom. You feel naked, exposed, vulnerable. But then, if you sit with it, something shifts. The panic subsides, and a strange space opens up, not just in your phone storage, but in your chest. You realize that the memory did not live in the JPEG. The love did not live in the .txt file. Those were just triggers. Those were just keys to a room that exists inside you. And if the memory is truly meaningful, if it truly shaped who you are, it is already written into your neurons. It is etched into your character. You don't need the receipt to prove you bought the experience. You are the experience. People who practice digital minimalism, who ruthlessly curate their photos, who delete old threads, who keep their inboxes at zero, often report a sense of lightness that borders on the spiritual. They are no longer carrying the corpse of the past on their backs. They are forced to trust their own minds again. They are forced to trust that what matters will stay, and what fades was meant to fade. There is a tremendous freedom in accepting that we are temporary, that our moments are temporary, that not everything needs to be archived. When you stop trying to document your life, you can start inhabiting it. Imagine a phone that only contains what truly sparks joy or utility. Imagine a gallery where every image is a gem, a chosen memory, not just a default accumulation. Imagine opening your messages and seeing only the people who are currently active participants in your life, rather than a list of ghosts. This is not just about organization. It is about identity curation. It is about deciding who you are right now. The person who needs those 500 screenshots of old drama is not you anymore. That was a version of you who needed validation, or proof, or defense. You can thank that version of yourself for protecting you. You can acknowledge that they did the best they could. And then, you can hit delete. You can let them go. Because the truth is, we are not the sum of our data. We are not the archives of our history. We are the living, breathing consciousness that exists right here, right now. The only moment that you can actually touch is this one. The fear of deletion is the fear of oblivion. We worry that if we leave no trace, we don't matter. But mattering is not about data storage. Mattering is about impact. It is about how you make people feel, how you show up, how you love, how you create. None of those things require a backup to be real. In fact, sometimes the most beautiful moments are the ones that are never captured. The ones that exist only in the shared silence between two people, or the fleeting beauty of a sunset that you watched with your eyes instead of your lens. Those moments are pure because they cannot be commodified. They cannot be shared, liked, or scrolled past. They are yours, and yours alone. So, I have a challenge for you. It's not a technical challenge, it's an emotional one. Find one thing today. Just one. One folder. One conversation thread. One blurry photo of a sandwich from 2019. Look at it. Really look at it. Don't just swipe. Ask yourself, does this serve who I am today? Or is this an anchor keeping me tethered to a version of myself I have outgrown? Acknowledge what it meant to you then. Acknowledge why you were afraid to lose it. Maybe it represents a time you felt happy. Maybe it represents a time you felt safe. Honor that feeling, and then realize that the feeling is not in the file. The feeling is in you. Then let it go. Hit delete. Confirm it. Watch it disappear. And notice what happens next. The world doesn't end. Your memory doesn't vanish. You don't become less of a person. Instead, you might feel a tiny, subtle release. A little bit of air entering a room that has been closed for too long. Digital clutter is the manifestation of our fear that we are not enough without our history. But you are enough. You always were. The empty space on your phone isn't a void to be feared. It isn't a lack of life. It is room. Room for what happens next. Room for new memories, new people, new versions of yourself that haven't been written yet. We spend so much time guarding the ashes of the past that we forget to tend the fire of the present. Put down the archive. Step out of the museum. The door is open, and the air outside is fresh. You don't need the proof. You just need to live.